There were a lot of nights, a lot of days when it was just me and God, me just talking to God and trying to figure out, why is this happening, and what is the lesson in this, and how can I grow from this, and how is this going to end? Like, that was where my mind was. I went within totally. At first I was without, and I was very conscious and moving through it afraid and moving in fear, and I was acting out. I would go out, like on the weekends when he would have a nurse, I would go out with my girlfriends and get wasted, and then I would come home and I would cry uncontrollably. Do you hear me? I ended the night bad every time. And it kind of got to the point, I think my friends were like, oh my God, like, we want to go out because you're so fun, but we don't want to have the end, because you're going to cry, you're going to get mad, you're going to, I was dealing with a lot of emotions, or not dealing with a lot of my emotions, and just acting out. But once I started my spiritual journey and started to really go within, I mean, we're always on a spiritual journey, right? Like, we're spirits in a human body, we're spirit beings. And the more that you recognize that and tap into it, you start to look at the world differently, and you start to realize the power that you have, and you start to really take control of your life, and you really start to have ownership. And that means that certain people that you've had in your life all along, they just might not go along that journey with you, and that's okay. It's okay. But when those relationships fall away, that's another layer to the grief, because when your loved one passes away, and if your relationship is built on going out, or men or women, or things that are constantly changing, and it's not a core basis, it'll reveal itself, and that'll let you know that it's time to move on. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay. And it may not end well, that's okay as well. But at the time that you're going through grief, you have to make yourself a priority. You have to remind yourself to get up out of the bed. You have to remind yourself to eat. You have to remind yourself to take a shower. You have to remind yourself to walk the dog. You have to remind yourself to go outside and continue to live, between the sobbing. It's very difficult. And in Western society, we don't create the space for grief. And something that I found was that talking about my son is very uncomfortable for others, because they're like, oh no, she's gonna crack. Oh no. And that's really love. That's really love from the people, because they don't want to see you hurting. No one wants to see you hurting, right? Like, you don't want to hurt, and your friends and family don't want to see you hurting. But it's doing a disservice when you're not able to continue that relationship with your past loved one and speak about them and keep their memory alive. And that's something that I want the world to know. Like, it's okay to still talk about them. I know it hurts. It's okay. And it's okay for it to hurt, because when it hurts, that means that you love them. That means that you love them. And grief is not an easy journey. There's no shortcuts in grief. You gotta just go through it. If you package it in a box and put it away, it's gonna grow. It's going to just sit there and grow. It's not going anywhere. And it's going to start to affect your life in ways that you don't even recognize. So I'm just speaking on the one part of this, as far as dealing with relationships that fall away and being okay with that. And sometimes you may have a relationship that they don't fall away. They stay right there, but it's not a good relationship. It might be a relationship where you're giving more than you're receiving. It's always, we've all had those uneven friendships and uneven relationships where you're always the one getting hurt. You're always the one coming to their aid. You're always the one that is there for them, and you don't get that in return. It's okay to let those relationships go. And if a person is really your friend, I want to say this. If a person is they really love you, and they're a friend or a genuine family member, they really love you, right? They may be hurt when that relationship goes away, but they won't start to hate you. They'll try to understand, because when you're grieving, let me tell you, when you're grieving, you're going to do some irate things sometimes. You're going to start feeling like you're going crazy, because nothing is going to make sense anymore. Like, oh, I have to pay my bills. Oh, I have to drink water. It's like everything stops. The moment that person stops breathing, at least for me, everything stopped. I just wanted to lay in the bed. And I was in a relationship when my son passed away. I had been dating a guy for about 8 months. We had been dating. And, well, not 8 months at the time, but we had been dating for about 5 or 6 months, I'll say, at that time. Or maybe about 8 months. But after my son passed away, our relationship changed, because he didn't know how to be there for me in this grieving period. We hadn't been dating that long, where he knew me for years. And I even told him, you know, I don't know if I see this relationship on the other side of this, because I knew things were spiraling out of control with my son's health. I knew things were getting worse. And holding up a relationship, you know, a relationship takes two parts. It's a give and take. You got to give, they have to give, you got to take, they got to take. But not in that fashion. Like it's a ebb and flow, right? I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't think I could be there for you right now, because I need you to be there for me. And that was an area that I didn't even know how a person could be there for me in. And unfortunately, the relationship faded away, right? So here I am left with really no relationships, just me, my grief, and God, or me, my grief, and source, me, my grief, and the universe. And the relationship with my parents, that's a whole nother video, but there were things that happened there that were like revelations for me. So that was a lot of loss. I dealt with a lot of loss, not only the loss of my son's life, but the loss of relationships and the meaning and the gravity of the relationships. Like, you'll be able to see which relationships hold weight and which ones don't. And when you get that feeling, you got to roll with it. You got to listen to yourself. It's when you're in grief, it's time to go within. It's time to take care of you. It's time to heal your heart. For me, and this is the best way that I can describe grief. Grief is all the love that you have left to give the person that passed away, and you don't know where to, you know, it's like, wait a minute, you're not here, but I love you so much. I have so much that I want to show you and give you and love you with. I have all this love for you, and I can't give it to you anymore. You're not even here to receive it, right? Because physically they're not here. And I don't know what everyone's spiritual beliefs are, you know, but I do believe that honoring the relationship with that loved one is very important, and creating the space for grieving that person and allowing yourself to say, you know what, not today. I just can't today. Or I'm going to give myself a certain amount of time to grieve, and then I'm going to try to move forward, try to be productive, try to do something else, so I don't just sit here in sorrow and just melt into this abyss of depression and grief and sadness and suffering. So I guess the 2 points for this video is even though you have sorrow, you can choose to suffer and not to suffer. And that's something that I hold with me, and I allow myself 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon to just bawl my eyes out. I mean, I fall on the floor. I do whatever I feel the need to do. If it's holding his picture, his pillow, his shirt, smelling his scent, whatever it is that I need to do to connect with my son and let that and give that love. If it comes like tears, if it comes like dancing, whatever it comes like, I allow that space to love him, to grieve him, and to heal my heart. And I encourage everyone to do that. I mean, I'm 7 months out, and it has done wonders for me. I'm no guru, I'm no expert at all. I just feel like if I can help someone with what is helping me, then that's what I'm gonna do. Dre didn't leave here for nothing, you know? And in his absence, I stand strong. And the only way I can do that is to give of my heart, to give the love that I can no longer give him. I'm gonna give it to y'all. So create that space and allow yourself to grieve, but decide not to suffer in your sorrow. And also honor your right to allow relationships that no longer serve you, or at least at this time during your grief, allow those relationships to sit on ice for a little bit while you hone in to yourself and honor your grief and really decipher how you're feeling and what you need. That's okay. And if those people really love you, they'll understand. And even if they don't, you know what? You got to do what's best for you. I'm a very big preacher of self-love and validating your own feelings and being your best self. And the best way to do that is to tap in and to listen to yourself and honor what you hear. So if I had more for y'all, I would have kept going. But that's my piece, y'all. Bye, humans.